How's everybody doing? Good to see you all. Good to be with you all. Sarah, thank you for that extraordinarily kind and honest and real introduction. To you and to Zach, thank you for opening up your home. To Mira and to Fiona, wherever she is. She welcomed me with a growl and then with a smile. And to Benjamin, you opened up your home as well, and I'm grateful. Thank you so much. And to each of you for taking a break from your beer at Carl's and walking across the street and welcoming a stranger from El Paso, Texas. Grateful to you as well. It's just been an extraordinarily beautiful day in every way that counts. This beautiful sky, wonderful temperature. We've been able to be outside at many of these meetings. This is our 6th house party of the day. And it is going to be the best house party of the day. So I'm glad I get to spend it with you. In about a half an hour, Texas Tech is going to take the court against Michigan State.
I'm rooting for Michigan.
And if Texas Tech prevails in the game, and then if they win the NCAA men's championship, they will be only the 2nd team from the state of Texas in the history of the game
really nice.
to win.
I hope so.
The first team, and so far the only team from the state of Texas to win the men's NCAA basketball championship, was the Texas Western College Miners in 1966. Go UTEP. And among other things, that team is notable because it was the first all African American starting 5 to take the court against the University of Kentucky, one of the dominant powerhouses in men's basketball. It was a Cinderella stories of all Cinderella stories. They won that game, and the story of how they came to play and to win and to bring back distinction and honor upon my hometown of El Paso, Texas, upon our state, and upon this country is one that bears telling right now. And I have to go back in time a little bit to 1924, when a doctor in El Paso, Texas, named Lawrence Nixon attempted to vote. He had his poll tax receipt, walked into the polling location, attempted to cast his ballot, but was turned away because he's an African American in a state that had an all-white Democratic Party primary. And in the South, including Texas, in the states of the former Confederacy at that time, the Democratic primary was dispositive. Whoever won that primary race would be your governor, be your member of Congress, would be your county commissioner. So he and every other African American in Texas were literally locked out of their democracy. Not willing to stand for that, he takes his case to the Supreme Court twice and ultimately wins. And 20 years later, almost to the day, 1944, he is finally able to cast his ballot in his own country, of which he is a citizen, in what is supposed to be the world's greatest democracy. 20 years of courage and persistence and patience. 10 years later, there's an extraordinary young woman who graduates from the all-black Douglas High School in El Paso, the only high school that she was allowed by law to attend, and attempts to enroll at Texas Western College, and is rejected based on the color of her skin. And she too takes her case to a federal court, enlisting the help of Thurgood Marshall along the way. And in front of the bench of R.E. Thomason, she is able to integrate higher education at all institutions of higher learning in the state of Texas, and also strike down the segregation clause in our Constitution as a result. Now, fast forward to the Texas Western College men's basketball team. Don Haskins, Hall of Legend coach, is trying to recruit the best players in the country. But he's unable to do so if they don't feel that their talent will be welcomed, if they can't sit anywhere they please on the bus, drink from whatever water fountain they choose, sit wherever they want to in a movie. But Haskins is able to tell these players that thanks to Dr. Lawrence Nixon, thanks to Thelma White, thanks to Burt Williams and Nolan Richardson, who integrated places of public accommodation in El Paso, the first city in the former Confederacy to do so, that this is a town that is going to welcome them. And we did. And he built one of the greatest teams in college basketball history. So it wasn't just those 5 men on the court. It wasn't just Don Haskins in 1966. It was Thelma White, it was Nolan Richardson, it was Burt Williams, and it was Dr. Lawrence Nixon who made that victory possible. When we bring more people in to our democracy, into our country, when we are inclusive, when we celebrate talent and genius in whatever form it comes, we all do better as a result. And this very campaign, thank you. Thank you. This very campaign is premised on the idea that as we face the greatest challenges of our lifetimes, a country where millions are unable to see a doctor or afford their prescription medications, in many instances, though they have insurance, where one of the largest providers of mental health care services today is the county jail system in our communities today, where women are dying unnecessarily in the midst of a maternal mortality crisis 3 times as deadly for women of color. We're not missing the resources, the medical advances, the technology. All that we lack is the political will to ensure guaranteed, high-quality, universal health care to every woman, to every man, to every child in this country. Primary health care, mental health care, and health care that means every woman is able to make her own decisions about her own body. There are many here wearing these amazing red shirts who will remind us that we lose the lives of more than 30,000 of our fellow Americans every year to gun violence. No other country comes close to approaching these numbers. And so we can accept that this is an act of God or nature, or we're somehow inherently dangerous or violent or bad, or that this is a human-caused problem that has a human solution. They have shared with me that those states that have adopted universal background checks have seen a near 50% reduction in gun violence, and that if we adopted it for every state, for every person in the United States of America, we would begin to save more lives. I've also been told by those who perform medicine in our emergency rooms that if you are shot by a handgun and it misses your heart or a major artery and we get to you in time, we can save your life. But at a high impact, high velocity round shot from a weapon of war like an AR-15, there's no chance that we can save your life, because that's exactly what it was intended to do. Weapons that were designed and engineered and sold to the United States military for the express purpose of killing people as effectively, as efficiently, in as great a number as possible, belong on the battlefield and not in our communities. We should no longer sell them to our fellow Americans. We have a system of immigration today that is denying the true potential, not just for families of immigrants, but for this country. A country founded in part on asylum seekers and immigrants and refugees from the world over. I live in one half of the largest binational community in the Western Hemisphere. And El Paso, Texas is one of, if not the safest cities in the United States today, not despite the fact that we are a city of immigrants and asylum seekers, but because we are a city of asylum seekers and immigrants. A quarter of those with whom I live were born somewhere else, were called to us. Their very presence makes us stronger, makes us more successful, and yes, makes us more secure. So here's our opportunity. What if those more than 1 million dreamers came to this country at a very young age, who are contributing so much to our success because they are not just the children in the classroom, they're very often the teachers teaching the children in the classroom. They're not just benefiting from those who are willing to risk their lives, putting them on the line tonight in Afghanistan, in Iraq. They're very often those service members who are serving tonight in Afghanistan and Iraq. What if we allowed them to contribute their full potential to this country's greatness by making them U.S. citizens and freeing them from any fear of deportation going forward? Republicans Democrats, independents, small town, big city, we can come together and rewrite this country's immigration laws in our own image to reflect our values, our priorities, the reality that we see here in Des Moines or back home in my hometown of El Paso. This is our opportunity, and it's right before us, and I know that the consensus and the will is there. It just needs to be reflected in our leadership. And then that challenge, which will define us forever after, because what we choose to do or what we fail to do will define the prospects of our kids and our grandkids and the generations who follow them. The fact that this planet has warmed 1 degree Celsius just since 1980 over pre-industrial revolution levels, and that warming is in part to blame for the fact that you have 4 times the runoff in the Missouri River Basin than you do in an average year, and the greatest level of runoff since we've been keeping records about the Missouri River. The 58 inches of rain that fell from the sky in Houston, Texas, which is the landfall record for rainfall from a single storm for as long as we've been keeping those records in all of North America. And that was the third 500-year flood in just the last 5 years. The droughts through which our farmers persist, struggling to grow the food and the fiber that feeds and clothes not just this country, but so much of the rest of the world. The fires in California, the civil war in Syria that followed a profound level of drought not seen in that country in as long as they've been recording history there. These changes that we are seeing, it takes not just property, but human life, will become more devastating, more frequent, more profound, will undermine our ability to live in the cities that we call home today, and will visit a hell upon our children and the generations that follow unless we change course right now. Now this challenge, this challenge, as grave as it is, cannot be met by half measures or by only half the country. If this is a Democratic Party solution, this is a big city solution, then by definition it will fail because it will require all of us to succeed. Those scientists who've told us that if we warm another degree Celsius and the train is off the tracks and our civilization is doomed, they also tell us that there are 10 years left to us to act, that we still have time to do the right thing, to free ourselves from a dependence on fossil fuels, to invest in renewable energy, in wind, which powers so much of your electricity here in Iowa, as it does in Texas, in solar, where we're building out utility scale solar in my hometown of El Paso, and where the 2 fastest growing jobs in the United States of America today are wind and solar jobs. Farmers who want to do their part and ask to be incentivized in the farm bill so that they can make a profit and hold on to those farms and pass them on to their kids by planting cover crops, having precision tilling and farming that disturbs less of the carbon in the soil and captures more of it out of the air. If we lead by example, then this country can once again take its rightful place on the world stage as the indispensable nation convening the other powers of the planet together to confront an otherwise intractable problem that no other country is capable of doing. We can do this for ourselves, for the rest of the planet, and for the generations that follow. But if we are defined by our divisions, by our fears, by our differences, as this current president would have us be, instead of coming together around our ambitions, our aspirations, the resolve, the creativity, the hard work necessary to realize them, then we will face the judgment of our children and their children and the people of the future. At this moment now, in 2019, we cannot be found wanting. Whatever the differences, let us put them aside, define ourselves as Americans first before we are anything else, and do the business of this country. So the way in which we campaign, going everywhere, writing nobody off, taking no one for granted, No me importa who you voted for last time, to whom you pray, who you love, how many generations your family has been in the United States of America, or whether you just got here this morning. All that matters now is that we are together and we have the chance to confront these historic challenges together. And so I will campaign in every single part of this state, in every single part of this country, arriving with the courage of my convictions, but also willing to listen and learn from those whom I hope to serve. In that way, I believe that we can secure the nomination. In that way, I believe that we can defeat Donald Trump. In that way, I believe that we can bring this country together to do this country's business. And that's why I'm running to serve you as the next president of the United States of America.